Hello and welcome to Talking Tunes.
Hi.
I'm here with Jenny.
And I'm here with Callum.
And you probably didn't hear that, but that was Dusty.
Our mascot. She's a lot bigger now.
It has been 6 months since you saw the three of us, so I think it's been 6 months. Maybe it hasn't, but it's been a very long time.
Yeah, basically 6 months, yeah.
We're here to get started again, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life got in the way.
As it always does.
As it always does. But we're back now, and we're going to start again, and we're going to try and get a schedule.
Yeah. So we're hoping that you can expect a video and a podcast from us every 2 weeks. Obviously, we'll keep it flexible because that's what we are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be 3, and then we might make up for it with 1 week, but we'll try and keep it to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're going to crack on, basically.
Yeah. Just in between as well, we're going to have a lot more content up on the socials as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do make sure, if you're not, you're followed to Talking Tunes, especially on Instagram. We're going to have a lot more like news and short form content up on there.
Yeah.
And that's going to be quite regular. So do keep an eye out for that as well in between podcasts.
Yeah. And I think we were sort of going to start this one off as sort of recapping.
Yeah.
The year in music that we haven't been speaking about. I think probably the last things we were talking about was back at the beginning of the year. I don't really remember what the last major things.
I remember we were talking a lot about the upcoming awards and things like that, the award ceremonies.
Yeah. Which feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah, it was such a long time ago that I think actually a lot of the stuff that we've recently heard or listened to or has happened, we had no idea of.
Yeah.
So it's basically a clean slate this week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Camera dust?
And I think we should start off with sort of recounting the things we've managed to see in the last 6 months. There's obviously some big news that is quite relevant and quite recent, but we'll get into that shortly.
Yeah.
No surprises for what that's going to be about.
No.
But in the meantime, do you want to bring up some of the music things that we've done in the last 6 months?
Yeah. Well, the best and most recent is a week ago today, as of filming, we saw Massive Attack at Act 1.5, and that was amazing. Yeah.
I think hands down, safe to say it was one of the best gigs I've ever been to.
I think it is the best gig I've ever been to.
In terms of
by far.
Yeah, in terms of a show, right? Beyond just the music, beyond just the visuals, everything encompassed together with not only that, but the sort of philosophy of the whole show, the art going on, the interactivity of so many of the things, the support acts, the sound quality itself, as well as just the amazing fucking music and the amazing visuals.
Yeah, insane.
All encompassing, unbelievable show.
Yeah, it was. I could have stood there all night. I really, really it was like I was in a trance. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. It felt
like Massive Attack sort of giving a love letter and being like, this is like the best show we could possibly give you. It was massively political, like charged with philosophy and like their messages and things like that, but that wasn't at the cost of the music at all.
No.
In fact, I don't think they
accompanied it perfectly, really.
Yeah, there was no sort of like interruptions to the show. They brought out all the original singers for like all the songs where they've collaborated,
like especially Mezzanine.
God.
Well, for everything though, it was
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I cannot explain
it was insane.
Good they are live.
That was a bucket list for me, and it was one that I didn't think would happen, because if you know them, you know they've been very inactive, or not inactive, like they campaign and they post and they obviously they speak up on a lot of different political issues, but they haven't played in England anyway for quite a long time, and that was the first Bristol show in like 5 years.
I think it was. Yeah, I think that's
also, like, the show was incredible, literally the best show I've ever seen, but alongside that, it was also like the first and only event of its kind. Like, I might just run through quickly like how revolutionary this event was, because basically like it has set the standards now for sustainability in the music industry, because the festival itself was them putting out a message being like, look how easy this is. So like about 5 years ago, in 2019, they commissioned I think it was the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change Research. They basically handed over all of their like stats and information from the last tour, and they said, analyse this and make a full report on how all of these like emissions can be cut, etc. And it took, I think, 2 or 3 years. So the report was finally released in 2021, and Massive Attack presented it and put it out on their website and were like, this is our new report in collaboration with like the Tyndall Centre. So this is like, we're presenting this to the music industry as a template that we should all be using to cut down on the like environmental impact of tours. And then no one used it, and it was just ignored. And they said that it was really frustrating, because I think they were also going out of their way to try and spread the report and encourage like promoters and tour bookers to follow it. And they were getting a lot of responses like, we've got our own report and things like that, which are, well, obviously you've got your own report, but it's not doing any good, is it?
Not doing anything about it.
So I think that, and then that spurred them to have this gig, because they were like, well, right, we're just going to show you then how easy it is to do, and then people can't ignore it anymore. So that was like the motivation behind, and that's why it's Act 1.5 as well, because of the whole 1.5. It's
1.5 degrees, isn't it? Is what it's referring to. Which is what I think is that what we need to lower? It was to do with like that's the number we need to lower the climate.
It's either that.
It's either to prevent like it going past the point of no return, I think.
Yeah, it's either that or that 1.5 degrees will tip us over the point of no return. Yeah. I can't remember which side of it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was the whole of it. I'm just going to try and really quickly run through like what about it was special and what about it was different. Because like I said, they've never done like a large scale festival. It was run, there were a lot of very clever people involved, like Ecotricity and like A Greener Future, Grid Ferries and stuff like that. And basically, it is the lowest carbon event of that scale ever. So what they did was the whole event was powered on batteries, the Grid Ferries batteries. There was no diesel generators on site.
And you could see those.
And you could see them.
You
They
go
were
to the back
by the main stage.
They were just set there, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. I'll probably put a picture up on socials. We can, or like put one up on screen. Because we took lots of. Yeah. If I remember. Yes, they had the huge batteries, and they had the entire site was powered by it. So they had electric vans that were on like standby to recharge any batteries if needed.
To swap them out, wasn't it? I think.
Swap them out or recharge. All of the transport was electric. So every vehicle that was like delivering or shuttling us from the train station, they were all electric buses. All of the food was vegan. To lower the carbon of like obviously meat and
the offset
transporting,
to offset the cost of producing meat and things like that.
Yeah. Everyone was encouraged to get the train.
This is one of my favourite bits.
This was one of my favourite bits. So we were encouraged to use Train Hugger, which we had never heard of before. But to be honest, I think I'm going to switch to it as my...
It was actually cheaper.
Yeah, well, it was really good value, like affordable tickets, and for every train ticket you buy, they plant a tree. So it's sort of a no-brainer, like, why would you not use it?
Yeah, it had the same accessibility that things like Trainline would give you. But in this case, they were listing every single ticket for the cheapest ticket on Trainline.
Yeah.
Whereas Trainline only had 2 tickets for the day that cost. And I was looking at it like, why would I not use this every single time? If
and
this is the case?
A tree is planted.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then if you used Train Hugger, you had access to the free electric shuttle buses to the Downs from Temple Meads. There was also access to VIP bar and toilets, which we did not go in.
We did not manage to find.
Well, I think we walked past it. I think it was that really cool bit that was like fenced off, and we were like, oh, what's in there?
I think you're right.
I think it was that bit, but we never ended up going in.
I did see online there was a few complaints about the show, but they weren't complaints like, oh my god, you failed. I think because of the nature of the show, Massive Attack was sort of asking people to be like, tell us what you thought about how this was run, because we want to make this the new normal. Yeah. So they're trying to perfect the formula, and people were saying things like, oh well, things like that weren't advertised very well, and that's fine. You know, we didn't spot it either, but also queues weren't a problem, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, because that was another thing. Like at the bar, the queues were really good. Oh.
Uh-oh. Dog on the move.
Where is she going? I don't want her to jump off. Dusty, come on.
YouTube is getting a treat right now, and Spotify is left with just the sound of us talking to a dog.
Good girl. Was there something you wanted to say? She licked the microphone. I hope you heard that. Came through. Yeah, so the queues for the bar were great. They were so quick.
We went.
It was so
anyone
quick.
who's been to a festival knows if you go get a drink, you are likely to be stood there for like 20 to 30 minutes minimum. And I've been to somewhere it's like multiple hours. I don't think we waited
straight
more than
through.
Like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we were straight through.
Yeah. They were properly staffed. They had all the setup for if the queues got long.
Yeah.
And it was just run so smoothly that like we got, and the other thing as well is, and I've noticed this before, is that they weren't using draft drinks, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if this made a difference, because I've always seen it where the festival, like I don't know, the pumps or whatever that's using it, I don't think they can handle 1,000 people trying to buy a drink at once, and you see it's dribbling out and things like that. But here it was all just like recycled cans.
Yeah.
Boom. You pay for it,
so much
you
quicker,
walk off. Done.
Yeah, and that's partly why we didn't really bother to go out of our way to find the VIP bar, because we were like, this is so, like, oh, there's no queue, we'll just go here. Yeah. Oh, there's no queue, we'll just go here.
It was fine.
Same with, we were lucky with the food. We got some noodles and it was really good, and the queue moved really fast.
It went very fast.
But this is my one complaint about the site layout and the way it was managed, was that, and we'll expand on this, but the top half of the site was full of like art installations, which was really cool. It was awesome. But it means that basically all of the food was down on the lower half of the site around the sides of the main stage. Yeah. Which is smart, but it ended up that once it filled out in the evening and people started to take places for Massive Attack, the queues for the food stalls were just in the crowd. So like, because we were walking forward and we were like, oh my god, it's like rammed. Oh no, we're going to be right at the back. And then we were like, hang on, why is everyone like sideways? And we were trying to go forward, and there were queues like going across us.
And so it felt like it felt like the crowd, it was so busy that it felt like the crowd was packed.
And
then we walked past them and we realised, hang on a second,
Yeah.
this is just 8 queues in a row. Once you get past them, you can keep going further forward. And there's plenty of space.
And that was a mistake. I think the food should have been at the top and the art should have been down by the main stage.
I think as well, a lot of the food vans weren't prepared maybe for how much they were going to get. And this is one complaint I've heard. They didn't allow people to bring food in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Food was not allowed to be brought in, which was a massive complaint, because people were like, well, it's a day festival, and like, I understand that you want us to support your food, but also like, you know, not everyone can afford to pay the sort of festival prices. Now, I am not sure how I feel about that, but I think that the vans, I think they should have been prepared for it. And so, for example, the one we went to, maybe we got lucky, but they were obviously pre-preparing all their food. Yeah. We literally got off, we paid, we picked up our food. Yeah. There was no, like, it wasn't made to order because it didn't need to be, because it was a big batch of noodles, so they just put ours into a box and we take it. But for some of the others, it was clearly being made to order, which meant that these queues were going for miles. And it seems like a bit of a short-sightedness from, I don't know if it's the organisers or the actual food vendors in this case.
I'm not sure.
It's hard to say.
I don't know. Yeah, I think also maybe just queues being slowed down where they were placed and everything. But yeah, that's the only complaint I have with the whole experience.
I think I agree.
The art installations up at the top were so cool.
They were awesome, actually.
Lots of like anti-war installations.
It was very heavy Palestine themed, or to do with the conflict. So there was a lot, like you say, of anti-war, very strong messaging, and they had the tent where they were doing live discussions and conversations. And some of those were about green energy and things like that, but a lot of it was actually about anti-war and things like that. Yeah.
And they had the Hell Bus as well. That was quite cool.
A really cool installation.
Yeah, there was a massive queue for it, so we didn't go in, but we looked at it. And there was lots of cool things up there. And they also had, which is one of my favourite bits, was the DIY merch. So it really isn't going to pick up that well probably from here, but I'm wearing mine now. I don't think you've ironed yours yet.
I haven't got mine ready. No, I haven't.
But yeah, it's from here. It probably looks really faint, but basically the way it worked was there was this really cool domed wooden structure. It was like hollow, and it was packed, and you go in. It was
so busy, yeah.
And there's a table in the centre just piled high with secondhand clothes, and there were tables set around. And basically you picked a design or multiple designs, and you would ink up a printing plate, grab a second-hand shirt and print your own exclusive merch.
Yeah.
With like a unique design, unique colour, unique placement that no one else in the world has. Like no one else
You're
has
making
this.
it yourself, so you choose exactly how you want it to look, how you want it to be.
I wish it hadn't been so busy, because obviously it was busy, but I felt a bit too shy to ask, because I really wanted to grab the Act 1.5 one. Yeah. But I just was too shy because it was getting really busy. So I didn't want to, because I also have a design on the back. So I was like, I've already done two. I don't want to harass them.
I don't want to take the mick.
Yeah, I don't want to take the mick. And it was completely free, just in exchange for like at your own discretion donation to Doctors Without Borders, which is just really cool. And hopefully it raised a lot of money for the organisation.
It was a really cool way of blending both of the political sort of sides of the show, because on one hand it's recycling and upcycling clothes, and on the other hand they were asking for donations and raising awareness. And all the designs were mostly to do with...
They were themed.
Yeah, you know, it was like, for example, yours is the world but it's on fire. There was like money signs or burning designs. There were some that were literally just like green energy, like windmills, wind turbines, and things like that. So it wasn't all like doom and gloom, but it was all themed around war and green energy and sort of like
the planet,
resistance against corporations sort of concepts. I agree. It was one of my favorite bits, basically.
And we didn't actually see this because we would have done it if we'd seen, but they actually did encourage people to bring any like old shirts they had that if you already had a shirt that was a bit tired, you could bring your own clothes and just print on your own. Yeah. We didn't know that. I probably would, like, there's definitely clothes I would have brought. That's okay. But it was awesome because it saves waste. It's encouraging people not to overconsume and spend and get a new t-shirt every single time they go to something, and it saved me money because I would have bought a t-shirt, so it saved me 30 quid. Yeah. And I have something that's different and that no one else in the world has, and I've recycled. Yeah. And upcycled.
You feel good about yourself, don't you, for it? It's like,
it was just so cool.
It's a way for you to still get the memorabilia that you would have wanted, or whatever but in a way that's A, affordable, B, actually like
good for the environment,
good for the mess. Yeah, exactly.
Rather than constantly buying a new shirt and I'm not criticizing, because like we all get merch, that's fine, but like it, probably a few thousand people that would have bought something new probably didn't, because
and recycled
I've got I've got something, and that's just really cool. And it was very creative as well, and the people volunteering were very, very kind, and they were very patient, even though they had literally like hundreds of people queuing and waiting
they were
around.
really swept off their feet, but
nice.
Like it was still
you felt like you could we did 2 designs each, not 2 shirts, 2.
Yeah, they never made you feel like you were asking too much or anything like that, and you could tell that they obviously quite enjoyed what they were doing, even if they were really swept off their feet and working hard. And it was such a nice, like, just a really nice experience in general, and like all these people picking out their own designs, and like there was like a family next to us, and they were discussing which ones they want, and it was really nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was an amazing initiative.
It was, it reinforced that like music events can be. There's so much room for festivals and things like that to explore other ways to be creative and to explore art in other ways, because I don't think I've been to, like, have Reading ever done something like artistic like that when we've gone?
Never when I've been.
No, I've seen like they do music comedy at Reading. I don't think they do any other sort of form of art, performance, show, anything. I can't think of anything.
Nothing that I've seen, no.
Which, you know, they are music festivals, fair enough. But I just think that, like, it was a good example of being like, why not? Like, this is what you can do.
And that's the message of the whole gig, I think, is that it can be done. Why are we not doing it? Why are we not all saving, like, lowering the emissions like this? And that's what, like, kind of the sentiment from everybody involved was, especially before, was like, once it's finished and there were no power outages, then that is, like, when it actually starts. And I think there's a report in progress now that is actually analysing, you know, what the output was and what it would have been as compared to a normal festival of that size, and how these initiatives have actually saved. And I think that the biggest thing of all of that is the battery power, and that is spreading. A lot of festivals are doing that. Lollapalooza, Chicago recently did it.
Did they?
WOMAD have done it on one stage. Lollapalooza did it this year. I think BBC Radio 1 Big Weekend sort of have hybrid. I think they've, like, partially.
The thing is surely it's cheaper as well. It's like green energy has been proven to be cheaper. It just requires investment in infrastructure. So if everyone was to push towards it in the long run, surely it's better for festivals anyway. And
this gig was it's a message that we've done it now. There's no excuse. This technology is ready to be used. They had the whole thing. There was not one power outage, nothing.
No, it was all went fine.
You wouldn't, and that's what as well they said before the event was that like Massive Attack themselves said it's quite funny because they said, you know, we'll go on, we'll play, it will rain, we'll go off, and no, you know, in an ideal world, people won't really know the difference, unless they care enough to, you know, to look into it and notice. Someone could have come in off the street and thought it was a completely normal festival. You wouldn't know. Obviously, other than everyone talking about it. But if you came in and just watched the music all day and just ate the food, you'd have no idea.
No, and that was the beauty of it.
And that's the point.
Yeah, it wasn't them being like, look at us, we're green. It was them being like, we're just doing a festival. We're going to do it completely eco-friendly. We're going to, like, lower our emissions as low as physically possible, and you won't notice the difference. And that's the beauty of it.
Because there's no sacrifice, and that's the message, is that being environmentally responsible is no sacrifice. It's effort from the organizer, but it makes no difference to the customer experience, and that's the crucial part. And Massive Attack are also, like, they personally enact the values. Like, when they tour, I think I can't say numbers because I just really can't remember, but they used to have loads of tour buses for equipment, etc., and they've cut it down to like 2 or 3 buses, or like one bus. Like they've just cut all the equipment out of the stage show, and they've stripped it to the least amount of musical equipment and infrastructure that they can possibly get away with, so that they're not wasting a second of, like, emissions that they don't absolutely need. And when they can, the band travels by train, bus, ferry, and they don't actually travel in a tour bus. They get the train around, which is also quite cool because you could just see them around. I feel like there was one other thing.
Well, the one thing that we're going to mention about the trains as well is they actually put on extra trains. So it was a Sunday night was the gig. And so they put on an extra service that went to all the major areas in the southwest that most people who had bought tickets were near to. The idea being that they could maximize the number of people that could, instead of driving up to Bristol and parking individually, you know, so let's say it was
34,000
capacity. So let's say if half the people were to all drive, that's, you know, 16,000. Most people probably come in 2s, 3s or 4s, but we're talking like potentially like 5,000, 6,000 cars, like maybe trying to get to the festival, which is insane. Like maybe that's an exaggerated number, but the point being,
I don't know, it could be even more than that.
It could be. You don't know. To be honest. And by putting on this train, we, for example, took the step.
We
and
would
thought,
have driven.
We went, okay, we were going to drive, but because they've done this, there's actually a feasible way that we can get out of Bristol and still enjoy the gig. It was put on an hour later than it would have been, so that you didn't have to leave early,
miss anything,
your experience. And by doing that, we're also
having more fun.
Yeah, we're having more fun. We're paying for a train, so it helps the local area. You know, it's another train service that's being filled up because it's full of festival goers.
Yeah.
There's almost no reason to not do that for every single one.
And that's the thing. We were going to have to drive, but we didn't want to. We were annoyed about that.
Yeah, we wanted to be able to embrace it, not like be able to have a drink.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about things like parking.
We don't like
back,
doing
like
that.
Stuck in traffic, getting home at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's just a nightmare.
Hello. The dog has sat up and is staring intently.
The dog is looking at something. If she barks, I'm very sorry, and we may edit it out.
It's going to be like...
Yeah. Yeah, and that, like, it not only is good for the environment, but that's the best thing for customer experience you can possibly do, because anyone that lives in the Southwest knows it is so hard to fucking go to things sometimes.
Yeah, if you don't live in the city it's in, good luck getting anywhere after 11 o'clock, maybe.
10, 9,
Which
10 even.
For a gig is when they finish. So you're either leaving early and missing the end of your band, gig, show, whatever it is you might be doing.
Which I've had to do before, and it sucks.
It does suck.
It sucks.
I've missed a train because I decided not to, and I risked it. And I missed the train. So I had to get someone to pick me up, which took them an hour. This is when I was like a teenager, which was especially scary because I was a teenager stuck in a city.
Yeah.
And it's just baffling to me that they don't look
and
out
they
for
strand
these
all
things.
those people. Yeah.
They would rather let people either risk it or like do things like pay for taxis, drive when they could get public transport and things like that. And the good thing, like London is better for it. I've been to things in London where they put the tube will open up and put on some free trains after, which has been really helpful before. But outside of London, most of the country doesn't have the infrastructure to be able to do it. So it was really nice that they did this for the fans. I think that was
it was an event that was actually run well.
Yeah, it was, and it was done with the fans in mind as well.
Yeah, and the environment, because like we said, all those people, when we were getting the train, there were like literally busloads of people getting the train.
Oh yeah,
several busloads of people, double-decker busloads. All of those people would have driven.
Yeah,
every single one of them would have had to drive,
none of them would be able to get
or
home.
Get a hotel. But they were all sold out, and any that weren't sold out were like £200 a night. So more than likely, all of those people would be driving.
Yep.
So it's a huge cut of emissions. So yeah, and Massive Attack, I actually can't say enough. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
We've talked a lot about the actual show, but the actual festival, but the show itself
was insane,
mind blowing.
Yeah, actually insane.
Like an all-encompassing experience. I always worry about festivals, particularly things like day festivals, where they don't have very long to set up. They've got multiple bands that they need to do sound tech for, and it's easy for like certain bands' sounds to get lost because other bands have to take priority. But in this case, every band sounded amazing. In particular, Massive Attack were unbelievable.
It was insane.
It was like... Oh, words can't describe.
No,
just how good it sounded.
I would kill to do it again.
Yeah.
And if we ever get the chance, we will go again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've probably talked about that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, and it, like, as a gig, aside from everything that was, environmental about it, it was just fucking incredible. But it is also, like, it's hard to underestimate actually how important that event was for the music industry, and hopefully this is going to send out a message to people, like, the big gas guzzlers, well, without naming names. But
I do think we should actually mention that some people have been taking steps, which we've seen recently, which has been really good. You brought this up to me a few months ago, and I've read a lot about it with Coldplay.
Yeah,
they've been doing really well. They've been doing things like kinetic floors,
it's
where
awesome.
The feet of the people watching the show, obviously that creates energy every time they step, jump, dance, whatever it might be. And they've been using a system where that will be processed into energy to help use electrical energy as opposed to fossil
Which
fuels.
is so clever.
It's a really clever concept.
It's really clever.
It's a bit like when you see, like, those exercise bikes where people like cycle to power things.
They have bikes.
That's
as well.
the thing, yeah.
They have bikes within the crowd, so people, obviously not like at the front, but people, and it's
someone on the stage cycling along.
And that's like, it's a fun thing for attendees as well. Like, I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, we went on the bikes for like half the show, and it was really fun, to be honest.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. You give people an opportunity
and
to
they don't have to.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this is fun because it's like a challenge for some people. You know, people who are into things like bike riding or whatever.
Yeah.
But then other people will be like, oh, cool, I can actually physically power a bit of this festival.
Yeah.
That's a cool concept. And they'll just have a go.
And I've seen a lot of kids doing it as well.
I remember, like, back when I used to work at a place, and they just did like a little fundraising thing, and it was how long can you be on the on the bike for, which was powering a small generator, and the idea being that you were also powering the restaurant. And
That's
it was
so cool.
Yeah, it was like a challenge to see who could do it for the longest.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so and it's things like that, but when you put that on a large scale, and like you know, those things don't make a huge amount of energy, you know, compared to how much they need, but it is every little bit counts.
And because for every show probably there are people on those bikes for the duration of the whole show, so that's a significant amount of power contributed.
Even if it's a 5% reduction, that's crazy when you think about it in the grand scheme of things.
Coldplay have really, like, I really do respect them, because they, in 2019 as well, they said we're not going to tour again until we can, like, really actually reduce our emissions, and they held true to that, and they stopped. They didn't, obviously there was COVID as well, but that gave them an opportunity to work on it in that time anyway. So when they did come back a couple of years later, they had all these things in place, like the kinetic dance floors, the bikes, and I've also
they've got
heard
the
I've also heard that I believe. But yeah, also about Coldplay, I think it's really awesome because once they sort of got their sustainability policy down and they saw the success from that, they then turned and they were like, right, we want to make these tours the most accessible shows in the world. And they've done loads of work with that, which is just really awesome. Like they've done things with making it easier for people with like a carer or a guardian or someone accompanying them to get a ticket. They've done, I've written about this, but it was quite a long time ago, so I'm a bit rusty, but I think they've also put a lot of work into putting up like quiet spaces that people can go to during the concert. They've also have interpreters going throughout the crowd, like not just at the front, which is really cool. And then one of the more remarkable things they've done recently, and this year they've turned to accessibility, is they've provided vibrating sub-pack vests. So if you're deaf or hard of hearing, basically you can request them. It's free, completely free, even though they're quite an expensive bit of kit. You just request them, and it's big vest that you wear, and it's timed with the music, so it will like vibrate, and it really makes those people experience the music on another level, and it's just an amazing way of including everyone. And I like, they really are making an effort to do good, and I really respect that, as much as their music is a bit ass. Like, them as people are doing really amazing things, and that is, a Massive Attack acknowledged that. They were like, other than Coldplay, who are making strides, like no one's doing anything.
And it is a bit of, you just look at some big bands and things like that.
It's disheartening, isn't it?
Why can't you do better? And like you say, it is disheartening, because now I'm thinking about it, a lot of my favourite bands have probably been doing like world tours recently. I haven't heard anything about that. Maybe they have been doing stuff and we don't know about it, because to be honest, like with a lot of the Coldplay stuff, they don't shout about it. It's that
they do a bit.
Do they?
A little bit.
I mean,
well, if you go like on their website.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not saying that they wouldn't talk about it. Like Massive Attack have shouted about theirs, but my point being is that there have been changes going on in the backgrounds of shows for a while that we might not realise, because it's not the main thing that's going on social medias and things like that. And you know, it is at least exciting to see some bands are taking the steps, and we can hope that we'll see it more and more every year that goes by.
Yeah, I hope so. It's good to see, and Massive Attack coming back was incredible.
Yeah.
And what they've done was incredible.
Yeah. I think. Well, actually, to mention a few more things that have happened recently. So to move on from Massive Attack, that's definitely the most major thing that's happened with us regarding music that we've gone to see, etc., etc. A few other bands that we've caught. We saw Psychedelic Porn Crumpets.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. We saw them in Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting story, actually, because we were meant.
We
were meant to see them. Was it March or February? No, it was February.
I think it
was because it was like a week into when I started.
I think it was right at the end of February. Yeah.
So, for those who didn't hear this story or aren't a fan of the band, it's still quite an interesting story. We were meant to see them. Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, Australian psychedelic rock band. You could guess. Anyway, they do a lot of tours in Europe, but I've always managed to miss them. It's been gutting because I've been a fan of them for about 8 years. Jenny obviously also really likes them, so we've been waiting for this. They announced the show. We bought tickets for Bristol, and I had a weird feeling. I actually had a weird feeling that something was going to go wrong. I was like, it'd be classic, isn't it?
Because it's gone wrong every time.
Yeah, it really has. And they were in Scotland. And they had a show in Leeds on the Friday. No, it was midweek, I think. So it would have been like Leeds were on Tuesday and Bristol was a Wednesday or something around those sort of dates. And the weekend before, I think it's Jack puts a video up on his story and it's him with bandages around his neck. And he goes, yeah, sorry, Leeds, might not be able to play because I've been bitten by a dog. And he'd had his throat essentially gouged by a dog, which then got infected. And he had to have surgery on it to remove the infection. And the doctors were like, no fucking way are you going to go and sing for the rest of a European tour. So they had to cancel the show. They had to go home,
didn't they?
But I actually think that one of the best examples of a band that put fans first, and instead of going, maybe we'll reschedule, maybe we'll try to come back and it takes maybe a year or two. No, within a week, I think.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Within a week, we had dates. It had been moved 4 months later, so we weren't waiting that long. We saw them in
July in the end. Yeah. It was like right first week of July, I believe.
And they sounded amazing. He'd fully recovered. They everything was planned to perfection. Yeah. And they were completely transparent with the tickets. They were like, obviously, if you can't go to the new date, refunds are fine. But we made the effort. We could still go. And
it wasn't really a problem.
It wasn't. And it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, it's a great example of putting fans first and not like arsing around with the reschedule or the maybe we'll do it. They did I was surprised that they actually rescheduled it that quickly.
Was I. Yeah.
Not like some experiences I've had.
Yeah. I've had shows that never happened, and I don't even know if I ever got the refund. Yeah. I think about it.
Yeah, I've had a night. I won't go into this because it's a divergence from what we're talking about. But I had a nightmare of the Libertines, where it was literally the same gig, literally rescheduled like 3 times.
Didn't one of them fans went and they cancelled it as everyone was in the O2?
It was. I can't even remember when it was meant to happen, but it was in. So it was in Bristol. This was like 2021. Gig was scheduled. Me and my friend had tickets. It was postponed. Brilliant. Wait a few months or whatever it was. It was quite a long time. Great new date. Brilliant. It's all going good. Fantastic. My friend comes down to Bristol specifically. Brilliant. We're on track. In the O2. Standing at the front, they are literally, I think, they were meant to come on at 8. It's 8:05. And a roadie comes out and is like, literally shaking, shitting. And he's like, I'm sorry to announce, but the Libertines will not be coming out. And everyone, boo! And everyone started throwing stuff at him. And we all just like,
poor guy.
Everyone's just like, what? Sorry, what? What the fuck is going on? And me and my friend just looked at each other and we were just like, brilliant.
Pete Doctor.
Did we just go then?
It's just him, isn't it?
And it was him.
Of course it was him.
That he supposedly had a lung problem or something
that he didn't know about.
That he didn't know
tell
about.
Them 5 minutes after the show was meant to start.
Classic.
Yeah,
we saw them in the end, but again, it was a whole nother thing of rescheduling, and it was another long wait. It was nearly the end of the year when I saw them.
It's hard for people to reschedule because
it was the end of the year. I had moved out of my uni house. It was the end of uni. Yeah.
Because imagine if you've booked off 2 days specifically to go up and stay the night and come back.
Which is what my friend had done. She had booked work off.
Yeah, and a lot of jobs will be like, no, you can't cancel that. I've made the schedule around that. You're having those holidays. And if you want another 2 days later in the year, that's another 2 days holiday for you. And, you know, I know that there's things that happen outside of band's control. And also, it's unfair to be like, oh, every band should be able to reschedule. But once you reach a certain level where your job is being the band, you have to like appreciate
put the effort in.
Yeah, you do have to, especially for a band like the Libertines. Like, they should do better.
Whereas Psychedelic Prawn Crumpets, like, they're not massive.
No.
They're also from the other side of the world.
So to come to England...
So to come back, it's a huge expense. Yeah, it's a huge expense to do that twice.
They tour so much because they're a full-time band that isn't, you know, a stadium arena tour level band. So they sort of... I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I imagine that the reason they do so many tours is because it's the only way to sustain themselves and to keep making music. Yeah. And you see this actually with a lot of sort of similar sized bands. King Gizzard, for example, they have not stopped touring and making music now. I think even over COVID, they still pumped out albums. And there's a bit of a joke that they make too much and things like that. But genuinely, I think it's because they also recognize that they can sustain being a full-time band if they keep it up, and because they're not interested in making the most radio-friendly music, they appreciate that they have to put
that effort in.
Yeah, they have to put more effort in and make more music to sustain the band itself. Yeah, you know, if you're not going platinum on every album that you can release once every 5 years and then re-release in a year later, then how else are you going to support yourselves? Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I sort of diverted that conversation a bit.
That's fine. I mean, I just wanted to say that we went to that gig. We also went to another gig. We went to Birmingham and we saw Death from Above with Demon Happy supporting.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was amazing.
What a combination.
Yeah, Death from Above and Demon Happy. It's like they make different music, but they're like the same.
They go together so well.
They do.
Really do.
That was an absolutely fantastic show. That was really awesome. I actually can't think of any other gigs we've been to. It has been quite a few months because we've sort of been settling a bit.
Well, because we went away as well.
Yeah. It's been...
There's got to be another one.
I think music...
Other than...
I'm not sure if it has, you know. I'll be honest. Music has gone a little bit on the back burner for the last few months because of real life, basically. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but it feels like because of that, I now can sit back and think, all right, I've done all the setting up sort of things I feel like I need to do. I feel like I'm in a secure place. Yeah. And then like we went to like the gig, for example, recently, and I was just like, okay, I need to do this again. Yeah. I need to do this more. And it's nice because it feels like I've got a real thirst for music again. Yeah. That's like come back stronger than ever. And that's been helped by some recent music releases, which I want to also talk about. The main
which
one,
is upcoming concerts as well.
So the main one that I want to talk about is, I think it's probably best if you take the floor here because this is, we've spoken about them before. Yeah. One of your, if not maybe top 3.
Definitely,
maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
Fontaine's DC. Yeah. New album Romance, which as of recording came out like 4 days ago.
No, I think it was like a week ago at this point.
Actually, no,
you're
right.
It's slightly.
I think it's been longer than a week.
I feel like it came out last Friday.
I think you're actually right.
I think
you're actually right. I think I'm wrong.
That's okay. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, over the last 3 years, maybe 4 years ish, my top Spotify artists have been, this might be in the wrong order, but I don't think so. PJ Harvey, Massive Attack, Fontaine's DC. Like in the 3 years running. And Fontaine's DC, I got into them around the Heroes Death era, and I had, because I always, like, they were sort of on my radar, but like, you know, you need to wait until
same with me.
You come around to it suddenly, and one day I was like, oh yeah, I'm finally going to check this out. Listen to A Hero's Death, and I was like, this is fucking insane. This is so cool, so different. I love post-punk. and they've got such a unique take on music, and they've got such a distinct style, and that album is so cool. And I listened to that and I was like, oh my god, where has this been? Like, this is insane. Became obsessed with them. So then obviously when Skinty Fear was announced, I was like, oh my god, I was so excited. And it was when in our last year of uni, they started releasing singles that winter. The album came out in June, I believe, and I was, oh my god, counting down the days.
Actually, it came out before that.
Did it?
Because I think we...
Or was it May?
Yeah, I think I listened to it on the plane to Portugal.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, which was in
Or
May.
were you listening to the singles, though?
No, I listened to the album.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. May, then. Yeah, because I remember because it was coming out, like, the week that we were handing our dissertations in.
Yeah, which was May. We finished in May.
Yeah.
So...
And waiting for that album was actually torture. That, I think, is the most excited maybe that I've ever been for a release. Like, I was legitimately counting the days, and it did not disappoint when it came out. I think that's such a unique album. It's so powerful. It's so good. I think you...
So I've said this before, and I think this has actually come up in an earlier podcast. I do sometimes struggle with music that's too melancholic. Now, I love music that's dark. I'm fine with music that is like about sadness, about really depressing concepts, theory, like themes, etc., etc. But there's a certain sound that I really struggle to not enjoy because I can always appreciate it, but to listen to because it's too heavy sometimes in a way that's not as in like heavy music, but as in like
melancholic,
overwhelmingly melancholic. And some bits of Fontaine's DC are like that, but I think that's actually a testament to how good they are as songwriters, because to make me feel an emotion that powerfully is quite hard. Like, it's not easy for anyone to feel an emotion that strongly when you listen to music, which is why we have our favorite musicians, because they are capable of sort of it like scratching that itch for you.
Yeah.
But for me, some bits of Fontaine's, more before, I used to really be like, God, this is really like really emotionally heavy and like really dark. I agree.
Like, I see that.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
And then the more and more that I've heard you listen to them, the more and more I've come around to be like, it's just almost good. Like morbidly fascinating and beautiful. And there is so much raw talent in that band. Yeah. But the good thing is as well is that the more I've listened to them, the more I've realised it's balanced, and each album is balanced between sort of hype, energetic, cool sounds, then mixed with much more stripped back, raw, melancholic, and then especially in the last two albums, they've sort of bridged that a lot. Songs like
pretty ones.
Songs like I Love You are a perfect balance where it's like so heavy in the sort of themes and lyrics and sort of some of the sounds, but at the same time it goes fast, it goes loud, people want to sing,
it's heavy,
and they've really figured out, I think, that weird balance where they can be like, we're going to make you cry, and you're going to want to jump around at the same time. I don't know how they do that.
There's another band I feel I'm racking my brains, but there's another band that we've had this discussion with, but I love them.
Radiohead.
I feel like I know Radiohead, but I feel like there's someone else that I'm like, you would love, but you're just I can't. It will come to me, but maybe it was Fontaine's, but I don't think it will. I think it was someone else similar that you're like, I don't like listening to them because they're too sad, but I know that they're good. And it's someone that I like, but I can't.
I used to get it really badly with Radiohead. I've come around again with them because I've started to. I think it's like it's a thing where you have to warm to the song to be able to be like, okay, I'm okay with listening to a song that's really quite melancholic right now because I enjoy the song enough that it offsets it. But for me, on a first listen, sometimes I'm like,
I agree, and Radiohead really is even me with Radiohead, like I get that bit. With Fontaine's, I never I know what you mean. There are some Fontaine songs that if I'm chilling or like if I'm in a certain mood, I might skip them.
Yeah.
Not because they're amazing songs, but like you said, they're just a bit too melancholic. But I think I've slightly more. That's what made me fall in love with them, the darkness of their music, and that's in the heavy sounds, like energetic sounds, but it's also in the melancholic because they are so beautiful. I really can't remember who, but there are a few artists that we have this relationship with.
I think I get it a lot because my favourite music tends to be...
Was it Alt J?
Oh my god, yes,
I think it was Alt J.
I actually really struggle with Alt J. Yeah, you're right.
Which I understand as well, because like I see that, but I used to listen to them, not don't listen to them so much anymore. But
I find with Alt J, for example, like Breeze Blocks, what's it called? You and Me, what's it called? Left Hand Free, I think it is. Like those songs are incredible songs. I find them like really enjoyable. They're not all necessarily upbeat. I think You and Me is maybe, but like Breeze Blocks is actually quite like a dark like song, but it's not like the sound itself, the harmonies, the tone of the guitar, the notes that are actually been playing in the melodies, they're not necessarily super dark, and so I find them really sort of energetic and enjoyable. And then I listened to an album and I was like, whoa.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
And
that's something I find with a lot of my music is I tend to lean towards intensity and energy, and when it's the same sort of emotional weight but on something that's less intense, feels a bit too raw for me sometimes. I think sometimes I struggle to be like, this isn't chilling me out, this is making me think too much.
To be sad. Yeah. And I get that, because I favour intensity and heavy sounds and energetic music, but it's that's with those certain bands. I'm not a fan of like bedroom pop or sad pop or like indie pop. It's not that I like the downbeat sadness, it's that those bands like Fontaine CC, Alt J, Radiohead, it's that they still have that alternative sound. They've got like a dark side. They're amazing songwriters, and they happen to have a lot of melancholic songs. It's not that and it's the way that they approach that melancholy that I like. I don't like melancholic music really in other genres. It's it hits that niche where it's like I like it. But I would Fontaine's, I do prefer their heavier songs over the sad songs, but that's because they're easier to listen to, because you don't want to listen to like melancholic songs all the time. You just don't.
No, and I think that's another thing, is it's actually an example of their breadth of skill and talent and their variation, and the fact that they're not a one-trick pony. Whereas like you say, with other musicians, sometimes you find that like everything is melancholic, and that's fine if that's what you're into, but for me, I like a band that shows that it's capable of more than one sound, more than one thing, and that that can be album to album. I think we spoke about this before, but I think Royal Blood have really impressed me about their ability to move away from the two-piece sound that they had for sort of, really all three of their first albums. I think their recent album is the major one where they've actually stepped away from sounding like a two-piece. And then
I agree.
With other bands, like they do it in the album, in this case Fontaine's, and their new album for me is another perfect example.
And I think we had an interesting conversation about this yesterday, which I'll get to in a second, but I think to start we'll just say like what we feel. I think it's amazing.
It's amazing.
You love it as well.
I said to you, didn't I, that I've struggled to sit down with some of their other albums, but I sat down with this album, and I don't think it's perfection, but I can't think of many albums that I think are perfection. But I absolutely adore it.
I think Skinty Fear is perfection.
Okay. And that's that settled. No, I was saying to you that particularly the first, I think it's 5 songs, absolutely incredible, and all so different. So it goes romance into Starburster, into Here's the Thing, and then Desire, and then
the Modern World.
And all 5 of those.
And then I think Sundowner after that, maybe.
No, it's not.
Maybe that's
Sundowner's
towards
near the back end of the album. But that's another one I want to talk about. But those first 5 songs as a run, if those don't grab you, I don't know. Like, this isn't the band for you, because those 5 songs are incredible and so different. Starburster in particular, one of the coolest singles that's ever released. I was hooked when you first played it for me.
It is like a good single.
It was hype when they dropped that.
Even as a fan, like, it is really different and it's not, couldn't put my finger on why, it's just a very unique sound. So even for me, like, already invested, and already like I know them in and out. I was like, oh my god, this is like completely new.
Yeah, and we've said we spoke about this as well. It's not that they don't they don't recreate the wheel.
No.
But what they do is they've nailed an aesthetic and a feel with the song through very simple guitar lines, simple melodies. But when you layer it all up, it builds to this song that's genuinely, like, unlike anything I've heard before.
Yeah.
But without doing anything ridiculously crazy. So
no.
it when we talk about sometimes about some really alternative bands like Black Midi, they sound really unique because they're doing a million things that are very, very complex and crazy. This isn't like that. This sounds unique because they've just found a niche in something that should be pretty standard. And they found a way to do it cooler than anyone I've ever heard do it before, and better than anyone I've heard do it before. It's awesome. Go listen to Starburst now.
The whole album is amazing. And I think this was interesting because I think this is obviously the first, I don't know how with Skinny Fear, I know you knew the singles when, I know you obviously did know them when it was coming out, but you didn't know them as well. But I think as this is like the first one you've like really, really been like
following.
Following. And like listening to it the week it came out and that. Because we were talking about this yesterday and you were like, I love romance. Because I was saying like I'm surprised you don't love Skinty Fear as much because Skinty Fear is a lot edgier. And you were like, yeah, it's just too melancholic. And I was like, I actually think that I found romance way more melancholic than Skinty Fear, personally. And I think that maybe because you've had like this investment in this one and you've fallen in love with romance. I feel like now if you went back and re-listened to Skinty Fear, it would be heavier because, like you said, you're a bit more used to it now and you've like found your way in. I feel like now if you listen, there are some really, really melancholic songs on Skinty Fear, but I feel like a lot of romance is more beautiful.
Yeah.
Whereas Skinty Fear, the melancholic songs are more like sort of doom and gloom. But I think romance as a whole is more like downbeat and it's more it's less heavy and less energetic I think as a whole.
I'm going to revisit it. And actually I'll tell you what, for the next podcast
why don't you give your update?
I'll have a re-review of Skinty Fear for you, and I'll talk to you about how my opinions changed and things like that.
It might be the same. I might be chatting shit.
I think you're going to be right, and I think that I will have a different viewpoint on it. I can't say for sure which songs or in what ways, but considering how I felt about romance so far, I can't see me not liking it. And
it's just, it's funny because we were literally yesterday, we were just having a drink and you were saying how much you loved romance on your first listen and you were blown away. And I was like, I found it a bit sad, to be honest. So I was got it the wrong way around here. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved it. But I was just like, some songs I was like, oh, I'm a bit sad. Like, but just because we were thinking we were the wrong way around, I was like, you should listen to Skinty Fear again because I feel like I don't know. But yeah, that album is incredible. And I think what they're doing is amazing. They're like, to me, I think they're the only like true rock band, like not the only, but like.
Excuse me?
Okay, let me.
Excuse me?
No. Okay, let me clarify. It's in like they're coming up, they're distinct, they're unique. People are sort of getting on the bandwagon now, but like they are being themselves, and I think they're sort of. I didn't mean to say like, oh, that's not what I meant, but like as in.
Did say it though.
I did say it, but it's not what I meant. I think it's more what I meant is, to me, I think they're one of the most authentic bands around. I think that's more what I meant in only true rock band in the sense where they're actually going by themselves.
I can definitely agree with that because they are. Yeah, you're right. They're always true to themselves. They've changed their look for this album, but it doesn't feel forced. It feels like it's part of the sort of sense of the album that they were going for. And even if it's an artistic choice as opposed to a personal choice, that's still an expression of themselves. But I still love that, like, it's still all so much about things like Ireland and all the things that they so strongly believe in. And you pointed out, like, they did that collaboration with Kneecap, which is the Irish rap. Yeah, it's really cool. Or Green did anyway. And there's all these sort of things that they're doing, which it just reinforces that they are so true to themselves. And like you say, it's quite nice to see from a rock band.
Green also had a solo album while we were away.
He did.
And I'm actually so bad because I have still not listened to it in full. But the songs I've heard, I really liked. And you know why I didn't listen to it in full? It was a bit melancholic, the ones I heard. But I loved them and I need to. And I think they really are, like, they're possibly my favourite band. Possibly. And I think they have been for quite a while now.
If you consider the fact that they're still
and they're like
music.
very active. As like alternatively it'd be like Massive Attack, but they're not as active. Not
Blur.
I'm too sad now because we didn't see them. So
okay, yeah.
But yeah, Blur, like in historically it's Blur.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm sad that we didn't see them, so I can't listen to them. Let's not talk about it. But yeah, I think, and we've got tickets to see Fontaines in November.
Alexandra Palace.
I am really excited.
As am I.
When they announced this tour, like this is probably, I think this is just me being like naive, but when they announced it, I was like, oh my god, it's stadiums. What are they doing playing stadiums? And then I was
it's not stadiums, is it?
Isn't
it arenas?
Okay, sorry, arenas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hang on a second.
And I was like, what? It's arenas? What the hell? And then I was like, oh, I guess they're at this level now. Like, because they've been so personal to me for quite a while. And I'm not saying I got in at the beginning or anything like that. Like, Hero's Death is an extremely popular album. Like, I in no means am saying I was there before it was cool or anything. But like, I think just because I just wasn't aware, I guess, of how many people liked them. And I think especially Skinty Fear gained a lot of momentum. But Romance really, I think their Glastonbury performance really, really gained them like a lot of attention, because a lot of people at Glastonbury were saying they were the true rock band there, and they're the next headliners, which I don't know if I agree with that. But
I think they could be headliners.
They could be.
They're quite an alternative sound for a headliner, but it's happened before.
Yeah.
And I think they'd put on a good show.
But yeah, I think that Glastonbury caused a huge amount of momentum before the release of Romance, and now, like, I see so many people being like the best rock band in the people really are behind them, and the reception to Romance that I've seen has been entirely positive. I think people are very, very like impressed with them, basically, because they do keep reinventing their sound. But like you say, staying true to themselves. It's not like we're this now and they're just a different band. You're still listening to the band that you fell in love with 10 years ago with the first. I mean, when did the first time come out? Oh God,
like late tens.
I think it was. Well, yeah, like I feel like
18?
it was like 2018.
I think it's around there, because I know that Hero's Death came out very soon after. Hero's
Death was 2020, I think. I feel like Doggerel I want to see 2018 or 2019.
I think you're right. I think it was a really short gap between them. But the point being is that it doesn't feel like, 5 years then. It doesn't feel like a band where you're like, oh my God, Whiplash, this isn't the band I used to listen to. It feels like a natural progression, but fast enough that you're like, this is new, this is fresh, this is exciting. I'm loving everything. I want to hear more. I want to hear what they want to do next. Yeah. Well, because in my mind, it's almost like they've done not a 180, but like just to visualize it, like if they've done a 180, like each album has been going up a degree. Yeah. So it makes sense. Sorry, I died for a second. Like if you've been following them, well, if this is the first album you've heard, this doesn't make a difference either way. But like it's like like you said, it's not, fans aren't being like, oh my God, what's this all of a sudden. It's been very natural progression. Yeah, it definitely has. And I'm very excited to see them live, to see what they can do live. So excited. And Romance is awesome. Go listen to Romance. You definitely should. Now, should we get on to the big one? There's an elephant in the room we haven't addressed. No. And the whole world knows about this, and in particular, the whole of the UK knows about this. We're out of focus. We're back. There we go. The whole of the world knows about this, and in particular, the whole of the UK very much knows about this. But there was a little reunion that happened recently between two brothers who are kind of well known. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Dusty knows who you're talking about. Oh. Dusty's never heard an Oasis song in her life. She had no comment. Oh God.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Liam, Noel, what are you going to do?
Her silence speaks volumes.
Yeah, for those who've been living under a rock, the Gallagher brothers are back together.
Yeah.
They have somehow reconciled their differences, and they are doing a UK tour.
See how long that lasts.
Yeah, we'll see. UK and Ireland, actually. They're playing Dublin as well.
It was announced, it was teased while we were at Massive Attack.
It was, yeah.
Because that night, Liam
we were on the train, weren't we, or the bus?
No, we were standing there when the gig had finished. We checked our phones, I think.
No, I didn't. You didn't show me then, because I saw.
Did I not?
I saw on the shuttle bus to the train station, posted 40 seconds ago, the Mighty Eye, which is Noel Gallagher's Instagram.
I thought we saw
a gold
it on
bar. I saw it on the bus. Maybe Oasis official account posted it earlier, but Noel Gallagher posted on his. Yeah, it was like a date, which was I think was the 28th. No.
Yeah, 28th.
No, that was only 3 days ago. Surely it was.
Yeah, it was on
Tuesday.
No, it was on Tuesday. It was 27th.
It was essentially earlier this week.
Yeah. It was Tuesdays when it happened.
And it was just an 8 a.m. And so obviously the world was like, well, surely they're not getting back together. But then Oasis posted it, and Noel Gallagher posted it, and everyone was like, surely they're not. Sorry, Liam Gallagher posted it. Surely they're not getting back together. But they did.
Liam was also closing Reading that night, and when he went when he went off stage, it was on the screens.
Yeah. The point being is that they're doing a UK and Ireland tour. So it's Cardiff, Wembley, Manchester, Edinburgh, and Dublin. I think that's all of it. And there's multiple dates for each one.
Yeah. Loads of dates across, like only 4 cities, but a lot of dates. Or 5 cities.
The other thing that you definitely will have heard about is that it's impossible to get a ticket, and they've sold out.
So this was yesterday, as of filming.
That was general. Yeah, yes, it was general sale.
Yeah. Should we maybe say? I think we've talked about Oasis quite a bit on this podcast, but we both actually love Oasis. But
we are actually fans.
We are massive fans, but we have a love-hate relationship.
I can appreciate that they aren't the best band of all time, and I can appreciate that they're both knobheads.
Yeah, but
I quite like them.
Yeah, and we've both seen Liam and Noel. Yeah. I've seen Liam 3 times. I've only seen Noel once.
I've seen both once.
I would have liked to see Noel again solo. I really like his solo stuff, sort of. Well, there's a bit of filler in there, but that's a whole nother.
That's Oasis.
That's a whole that's a whole nother conversation. I knew that they would come back someday. So I've got to say I wasn't like floored, but when they teased that, but I was like, oh my god.
I could see it happening eventually. Yeah. I'm surprised it happened now, but I thought they both would have waited till like they'd gone quiet for like a few months. I'm surprised they did it whilst they were both touring. Which that took me by surprise, because I figured it would be something that they could afford to wait a bit, and then they'd be like, because they'll have traction no matter what. They don't need to piggyback off their own tours for everyone to go crazy for it. So I assumed they would take some time out and then do it. But I guess maybe the thinking is, we're touring now, let's keep the ball rolling, and then we retire with a fucking 100 million in our pockets.
I think Noel has made an interesting point in the past, and I think that it's absolutely correct, in that he says Oasis have cycles and they come back around and be cool about every 5 years. So like about every generation there'll be I hate Oasis is shit generation. Yeah. And then because people have a break from it becomes fresh and cool again. And that has happened when they were together. When they broke up, when we were like kids, they were very uncool. When we were teenagers, they were very cool. Really cool. And then Liam came back in 2017 after like quite a long absence from, like, obviously the last thing he had done was BDI. And he came back, and like everyone,
a year of hype.
Everyone of our generation was like, oh my god, it's like Oasis are back and it's amazing and this is the coolest thing ever. So there's so many people our age and older and younger who are fucking huge Oasis fans.
Yeah.
And then now, 5 years later, disregarding the last week, they have gone a bit off again, because everyone in the world has seen Liam. Liam's like, he can be very good live, but as someone who's seen him 3 times, sort of scattered, but towards the beginning of this, like, oh my god, it's all back, this is so cool, Britpop's back era, the momentum of the first couple times I saw him was insane, like an energy almost like no other gig I've ever been to. the gigs I see now, obviously that is still there. People love Oasis. It's not going anywhere. But it's just, people have seen it.
They have.
And they
It's
were
been
on
done.
they were on the down again.
Yeah, I think because they aren't a band that did much different.
No.
Which we can all agree on.
Oh yeah.
They do struggle with longevity, but I think their songs are good enough and beloved enough that they'll always come back.
And I think that was what was behind this timing, because I think they were on the down again,
So
and
this
it was
is them kickstarting.
It was this, or I think Liam and Noel do take a break for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think they've timed it well, and I think that's deliberate, because Noel's acknowledged that the generational cycle, and I think that was very deliberate of like, they've probably been talking for a while. We don't know how long they've been talking for.
I wanted to bring this up. There's so many rumours. Okay, Dusty. On
camera.
camera.
Lovely. I think we'll censor that.
There has been so many rumours about them reuniting over years and years and years. But in particular, I've heard a really strong one that apparently this was maybe meant to happen last year, and it fell through last minute. So there was meant to be shows this summer, which is why, because this year would have coincided with definitely maybe 30 years, I believe.
It was the other day, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the original plan was that there would be a reunion around that time to celebrate the anniversary, and instead that fell through, and Liam Gallagher has since gone on to do his own. He's on a Definitely Maybe tour at the moment. He is doing a celebration of 30 years of Definitely Maybe. I didn't even realise this until all this came out. It's a Definitely Maybe tour, is what he's calling it. Noel's doing his own thing.
The fact that he's allowed to call it that shows that there was at least...
Yeah, I mean,
at
I don't
least
know
a negotiation.
Noel might also just want nothing to do with it if we were assuming they were still falling out last year. But if they'd actually...
He does like... I don't know. I don't want to say things that are probably not true. But Noel does have like a big... I think he does have a lot of control over the rights.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that if that had happened, does that mean then that the last year of them pretending to still not like each other, has that all been an act, or did they fall out again? I don't know if we'll ever know. It doesn't really matter. It's all sort of gossip. But it's still interesting, I think, to think about.
Well, it is interesting. I think I literally didn't know it's called the Definitely Maybe tour.
Yeah.
And another note on that is maybe if it was just too hard to organise, or maybe, I don't know if they fell out, anything like that. I'm pretty sure, again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that next year, 25, is the 30th year of anniversary of Morning Glory anyway. So it's like, to wait another year, it's still a major thing anyway. If I'm wrong, I'm very sorry, that's embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure it's... Oh.
Up she gets.
No comment? No comment. Yeah, but I think... Yeah, it's interesting, and we can only speculate when and why they got made up. I reckon they've probably been talking for a long, long time.
I think so.
Before they would talk about, like, obviously Oasis would always be the elephant in the room, but they would have reconciled as brothers before they would have, you know, or they're stupid. Maybe they were like straight away, let's get Oasis back. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that I'm happy it's happening because it's nice when...
And it's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely better than them hating each other, because I think we're all a bit sick of the dynamic and the story and the jibber jabbering, because it's like it's just like, oh, come on.
Jibber jabbering.
It's so pathetic.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
It was like, is it like them
on
just trying to
Liam's
stay
side
relevant?
especially pathetic.
I just...
Man-child.
Yeah, well, the whole thing screams either like, this is how we stay relevant by like creating drama, or it screams, you're both like pathetic and just making drama for no reason, grow up. Either one is just as bad, if you ask me. But the point is that they reunited, and ticket prices were announced, quite steep.
Ridiculous.
Now, I've heard mixed reviews about this. We've sort of agreed too expensive for a band that claims to be the working man's band. It's not that the prices aren't justified. It's that it sort of goes against who they are.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah, they can charge that, but it's just a dick move because they can. And I think this is the problem. It's not just them, but it's a wider trend, and they are escalating it of these scale shows. People paying thousands to see Taylor Swift. It's ridiculous. And the problem is because they get away with it, the other artists know they can get away with it. And then it keeps escalating.
Because as prices rise, costs will go up with it, because companies know that they can charge that much, because a band should be charging that much to go see them. And so everyone has to keep up. And it sets a bad precedent. And I was hoping that a band like Oasis would be the ones to go, don't be fucking daft. We're not going to charge you 150 quid.
Of course they did.
But yeah, of course they did. Which is a shame.
Yeah.
It's, like I said, it is justified in the sense that they are probably the biggest British band of the last 50 years, maybe. Maybe that's a big, bold claim.
No, I think you're probably right.
But I think, like, since the sort of 60s and 70s...
Pre-social media, 100%.
Well, the only thing I'd say is bands like Led Zeppelin, Beatles, and Black Sabbath.
True, but that you're going beyond 50 years.
That's what I mean, yeah. Point being, though, is that, they can justify the prices in the sense that they are a huge band and people will pay that much. I just would have hoped that the working man's band that are meant to be, like, all about, we're not about that bullshit. You kind of are, because you did do that bullshit.
Of course they are. And
then it got worse.
Yeah, so...
Fucking Ticketmaster.
So, obviously, we all knew it would be a shit show, trying to get a ticket. We weren't actively trying. We knew your mum was.
My mum was trying. She didn't even want to, but she thought, "Oh, go on, I'll have a look," and then got booted out for being a bot, and then thought, "Well, I've started now, I'm going to try again," and got booted out again for inactivity when she's been sat in a queue
4 hours.
For 4 hours. What do you want her to be doing?
Playing a game.
Yeah. She has to leave the computer or the phone or whatever it is on the website because she's in a 4-hour queue. And then they go, well, you've been inactive, so we're booting you out of the queue. But she didn't turn off the screen. The screen was on the whole time. So what do you want her to be doing? Typing an essay?
I personally think about that is that, so basically Ticketmaster obviously slowed down the whole process to try and stop the website from crashing entirely, because there was over 40 million people trying for tickets.
Insane.
Which is insane. But I think that because there was a queue for the queue, there was a lobby and then a queue that you could then get in the actual queue for the tickets.
Yeah.
So, and they've never done that before. That's new, obviously.
I've not seen it before.
I think it's just to slow it down so you've not got literally 50 million people on one webpage.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, but it was so overloaded that the process was so slow that you think of these bands. When I was trying to get Arctic Monkeys tickets a few years ago, it was sold out in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Even though it crashed for a lot of people, or they were in the back of the queue, didn't load in time, it sold out in 5 minutes. Oasis were expecting that, but because this system was so slow at pushing people through...
It wasn't official, was it, until when?
It's 7 o'clock at night.
So
nearly 12 hours.
And what's ridiculous about that is, okay,
because of the waiting.
The idea was meant to be, by making people wait, it would crash less, but it still crashed. And on top of that, you made people wait 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours to find out you'd sold out.
Yeah.
At least with like Arctic Monkeys, within 20 minutes, you were like, okay, that's that then.
Yeah, move on.
I missed it. That sucks. I can have the rest of my day.
Yeah.
My mum spent half the day at home on her computer, on her phone, wasted that because she got booted out for no reason before even being told if it sold out or not.
And that's why I think that she was booted out for inactivity, because the website, obviously, they slowed it down, but I think it didn't mean to go that slow. They probably still intended for it to sell out within an hour.
Yeah.
But I think it was an unprecedented issue, and the website has an automatic thing to just kick people off. Apologies if there's a bit of a cut there. I had a technical issue. But yeah, like we were saying, there's so many stories of people literally sitting in the queue for hours, and then it's crashed, or they've been kicked out, and then they get to the basket and then it crashes, and it's just a joke. And then there's the really bad
the real zinger is what was it called?
Dynamic.
It was in-demand tickets is what they were calling it on the website.
Dynamic pricing.
Where people who had been in the queue for 2 hours suddenly found that once they got... You've got to talk into
Sorry,
that.
she was speaking.
That's gross.
She was speaking.
People who had been in the queue for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours finally got there and found that their standing tickets, which were reported to be £150, due to being in demand, the price has reflected this, and we're now £350 for the same ticket. No bonuses, nothing. And you know what's really weird is that there was packages where you could get a ticket with a bus, and it would cost £200, which was the normal price. So you could pay less to get more because they'd set this dynamic pricing to only affect the normal ticket. So they were literally charging you more for less.
Daylight robbery.
It's outrageous. It's horrific what they're doing.
It's real, like, it's a kick in the teeth, and I
think it should be illegal.
I think it should be illegal as well, and as well, this is what a lot of people are saying. It's cruel because you have fans who care so much. They've got up early in the morning. They're sat there. They're willing to shell out 150. That's a lot of money. They're willing to shell that money out. They've sat in the queue for 4 hours, and then it's the psychology thing. I guarantee you Ticketmaster will know and have considered this. That it's the psychology. You get the dopamine rush of, oh my God, I'm in the basket. Oh my God, there's tickets. Oh my God, yes. Oh shit, they're 300 quid. Oh fuck, I can't afford that, but I've got to do it. I've got no choice. I've waited for 5 hours. I've got to buy them now. Just get the card quickly and we'll do it. And you're playing on the same rush as gamblers.
Yeah,
it's literally preying on people's vulnerability.
It's so predatory.
And putting people on the spot because they've been, oh my God, well, I can't not get a ticket now. I've been sat here for 5 hours. And the fact that there was no warning until you got to the basket.
That this was happening.
That's the really sinister part. Because the tickets are 150. Oasis being, guys, don't buy from touts. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
They're selling tickets for £1,000. Disgusting. Buy it from Ticketmaster. Only face value, but the face value's gone up with no announcement. And they don't tell you until you get there.
Because it's electronic, there is no face value.
Unbelievable.
It's like, I hate to sound like the people who are like, cash is king, sort of thing. But because it's electronic, face value means nothing because they can change the face value of that ticket. It's not printed anywhere. You haven't got a piece of paper that says this ticket is worth 50 quid. That's what you pay for it. It is them who they can literally just go, tick, that number's changed now.
Sorry, we've gone a bit out of focus, I think. There we go.
They can literally just go, tick, that number's changed now. Your face value is actually changed because you were at the back of the queue. Sorry.
And it's
bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
It's bullshit. And it's also like, it's such bullshit as well. So every ticket is an in-demand ticket.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Why don't you just charge 300 quid from the start and save us all the trouble?
Yeah, to my knowledge, this is the first time they've done this, and it seems deliberate that with this band they could get away with it and it would still sell out. Is it?
People were reporting it's not the first time.
Oh, really?
However, interestingly, some of the bands you might think would do it have opted out of it. So recently, Taylor Swift specifically didn't let this happen. I don't know... People online love to be know-it-alls. I don't know if it's a case of the band has to actively opt in for this to be allowed, or if the band has to actively opt out for it to not happen. Because there is a difference. Because if Oasis went to Ticketmaster, hell yeah, let them do dynamic pricing. Yeah, we'd love to earn a bit more money than all the money we could. I think that's scummy. But if it's a case of, wait, we had no idea Ticketmaster were going to do this, we didn't know we had to actively go and opt out. Still, you could be like, well, you probably did know that, but at least that makes it sound more like Ticketmaster in control. But the fact that it didn't happen for Taylor Swift means that there must be some sort of decision somewhere down the line where they either let it happen or they don't let it happen.
I think, because I've seen people who are big Oasis fans being like, well, they sent the real fans like a private ballot code without entry. It's like, well, no. It's because you've got a lot of apparently they were DMing like big fans, like got actual links set. They didn't even have to enter the ballot.
Well, so because you're loud because you're loud on Twitter. Yeah, you get it first.
Because I was like, why is it that every single like Oasis Mania, Oasis podcast, Sam Shiner, why have they all got ballot codes? That's weird. No one I know's got a ballot code. And like this lady who's very famous, not very famous, but just likes Oasis a lot, has been very vocal about it on Twitter for a long time. she said, she's like, well, Oasis care about the fans. Like, you know, we got ballot, and people go, no one I know is a good fan. It was a random lottery. People Googled the answer to the quiz question. I knew the answer to the quiz question, but on Google, the day of the ballot entry, that was the number one Google question.
Was it?
Like, I don't know about number, but like, when you entered Google, it came up as a suggested question.
Yeah.
It was a free-for-all. And she went, no, I was emailed one before the ballot went live. So she's going, well, they care about the fans. And it's like, no, they don't. It's press. And like, that's a good move.
They're giving the loud voices the first chance.
Yeah, and that's nice.
Yeah.
But what about the actual fans who don't happen to have any followers on Twitter?
Yeah.
And what they've done with that, with the dynamic pricing, is disgusting. And that's what she was like, well, you know, and it's a shame because it's not down to Oasis. And every single reply was being like, it kind of is. Like you said, I think, in my opinion, at the very least, Oasis management would have signed that because it comes back on Oasis's press and PR. So they would have, at the very least, if not Liam and Noel, their management would have signed, dynamic pricing. Hell yeah.
Just out of interest, where were our ballot codes?
Nowhere.
We've given them press for years. I mean, I don't know.
I actually have, to be fair.
We talk about them all the time.
I actually have.
What the hell, Noel? What the hell, Liam?
We shit talk you all the time. What the hell?
Where's our fucking codes? Yeah, we've been shit talking you for years. Why don't we get codes? That's free publicity, right?
Yeah, it is disgusting, and it's left a bad taste in my mouth. And and I've seen people being like, you know, sat in line for 5 hours. It didn't crash, and I got to the front, and it was £300, so I couldn't afford a ticket. So I've not only wasted my day, but I've missed out.
Despite getting there.
Despite being there, because some of them are randomly in demand. They're not. Probably very few people got them at the 150, I would imagine.
I did think it was weird that it was you can actually find an official list of prices. I
thought so too.
It was all like, oh, these are the prices, but I never saw the documentation where it's like every newspaper was like, oh, we now know that these are the prices. Where was the official, hi, this is Ticketmaster, these are the prices? Probably because they were planning on this dynamic pricing the whole time. And they probably couldn't get away with not saying what the prices were going to be. Or maybe a leak came out that told what the original prices are going to be. But maybe they were like, well, we're not going to tell people the price because then they're going to be like, well, why does it cost more?
I agree. Because, the newspapers knew they would get the prices. But it, like you said, because I was like, why is it not on the Oasis website or Ticketmaster website? Because I looked at that. Sorry if the camera keeps going in and out of focus, by the way.
Back and forth.
I'll try and keep facing forward. But yeah, it's weird. There was no official, and I think that's so that they couldn't be tied to it. And it's disgusting and it's a shame. And I would have liked to go, but in a way, I actually don't know how much I want to support them. But if
if a ticket came up,
if a resale ticket comes up at 150 quid, we'll get one. Yeah. But it's just a shame, and they've gotten away with it. But people are really like, if you go on their post saying it's sold out, literally like every single reply is people being like, you've actually treated your fans like shit. This is disgusting. Which is, I'm glad, because they are obviously like legends, and I'm glad that people are actually hitting back at them.
Yeah, it won't do anything though.
Yeah,
they'll just pretend nothing happens and they'll move on, and then the fans that do like them will still go see them, and that'll be that.
Yeah, I will be surprised if we get any kind of like acknowledgement or statement about the prices. I think they're sitting in their mansions laughing. I think they're absolutely laughing. Even at the 150 quid price, the lower price, I think they were going to make like 40 million off like Manchester alone.
It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously that's split between so many people, but
well, yeah, of course.
They made that in a day, basically. And obviously it's...
And that's with the lower price, and that's only one set of gigs. So God knows what they've made.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a shame that this whole reunion went the way it did, but it's still a reunion.
It's still cool.
Still cool. It'd be interesting to see as well if they would make any new music. I don't think that there's plans to, from what I've gathered from the way it's been marketed. It sounds like it's more of a like, we're going back and we're playing the old classics. I don't think I'd want them to make more music either. I
don't think so either.
However, I could see maybe like, because there was those demos released like a year ago or two. I can't remember, it was a while ago now. Maybe there'll be more like, oh, here's some like unheard stuff or some like old demos, B-sides, things like that. Maybe something like that will get released.
Yeah.
Not sure.
I think I agree with you there. I don't know how much I want the new music either. I feel like it'd be a bit like naff.
Considering their solo outputs recently, and then the fact that they'd have to get together and make music together, they could just end up breaking up again if they did that.
Let's see if we actually get to the first show.
Yeah.
And if we get through the tour, I'll be astonished.
I do love the jokes that are like, you know, oh, get Cardiff day one because they're going to fall out, otherwise you won't have a show.
I've seen some really funny ones where someone was like, I didn't get a ticket, so this is my backup plan. And it was a screenshot of a DM to Liam saying, remember all that stuff your brother said about you? And people being like, if I can't see them, no one can. I hope they break up again.
I've actually seen loads of like their old conversations and interviews coming back up, and everyone's like, bro, don't. They're going to break up again.
Yeah.
Don't remind them.
I'll be surprised if they get there. Be hilarious if they broke up again before, but
it wouldn't be hilarious for anyone with tickets.
No, well, they get refunded.
But for us, it's pretty funny.
Pretty hilarious if you don't have a ticket. Not hilarious if you do have a ticket.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Oasis, really.
Yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see if any more things develop with this. But I honestly think it'll go quiet for a bit, because I think it will now just be like...
I think they'll just let it die down and let
the tickets are sold. Maybe they might announce more shows, but I have a feeling that I do wonder if it's going to be, this is it for 2025, and then 2026 maybe they do like a world tour, you know, where they really hit the world part of a world tour. Because let's be honest, most bands nowadays, world tour means North America, Europe,
and like Brazil.
Yeah, one show in Brazil.
I've seen like rumoured, supposed leaked tour schedules of not Europe. I can't remember if it's Europe, but they've stated that they're not playing. These are their Europe exclusive dates.
Yeah, it says that these are the only European dates for the year.
Yeah, so, and no festivals either, or UK festivals anyway. But I've seen a supposed leaked tour schedule that was like towards the end of 2025, and it was like the Americas, Asia. It might not be there, I can't remember. I just remember the Asia bit. And then I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, that's at the end of the year, and then maybe beginning of 2026 or like spring, then they circle the whole of Europe like on the way home. Yeah. Or something like that. I don't know. But I think their next steps, I don't think we'll get a statement. I think they're like press people will just say be quiet.
Yep.
The people who are pissed off will get over it in a week, and then all it will be is the people who got tickets that are excited to get a ticket.
Yep.
Everyone else will just move on.
Everyone else will move on with their lives.
And then do this to the next lot of people when the next tour's announced. So I think that, I don't think we'll get anything.
And I think that's that, basically.
Yeah. I think we made this quite a long one.
Yeah, there was a lot to go over.
Yeah.
So I hope you don't mind it being quite a long one.
If you've stayed to the end, then thank you.
Yeah.
You're a legend.
You are a legend. And this is us basically saying, we're back.
Yeah.
And we are going to try and kickstart it and get it going again. So if you enjoyed this, then please, obviously, do all the usual stuff and give us feedback as well.
Yeah. If you disagree with us, comment.
Yeah, please discuss with us. We'd love to sort of talk about other people's opinions. Let us know what you think, and we can always address it in the next episode. Tell you why you're wrong and stupid. So tell us why you're wrong. But more importantly, thanks for listening and for watching if you're on YouTube. Check out the socials.
Yeah, it's particularly Instagram.
Yeah. This is not a conversation for the podcast, but I think maybe we should make a Twitter as well. And we're just going to try and be more vocal on those sort of social medias. We'll post updates about news we've heard, but also maybe just post our opinions and just maybe what we get up to.
Little sound bites.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a lot of ideas for what we can do with this show, but it's all about getting them going. So for the time being, expect more content, and I don't think we can say much more, really.
No. Maybe a word from our mascot.
Oh, go on. Does she have anything important to say? No.
She says...
I think she's saying we've said it all. And we've spoken so eloquently and perfectly that there's nothing more to say.
That's exactly what she's saying. Yeah. That's what she's saying.
That's what she means. I know. I speak dog. So
that's what she means.
Yeah. That's what that sigh meant. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, you're so clever.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And thank you if you have got this far.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon.
We'll see you on the next one. This has been Talking Tunes.
Yeah. Jenny and Callum.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.